Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So this is a first ever on my account in my channel is I'm going to start doing book reviews. Yes, so this is going to be a little bit of a bookie channel along with hauls, vlogs. If you don't know, I'm a little bit of a book nerd, and I read a lot of books when I was younger, and I'm trying to get in the habit of reading more books. In 2023, I read a lot of audiobooks, about 60 or 30 audiobooks throughout 2023, but I realized I actually have a preference for physical books and physical pages. There's just something about a physical book that you can't get in audiobooks. And although I still appreciate audiobooks, I love physical books. So today I wanted to bring to you a review of a highly anticipated book that has been on the shelves for a couple years now. I actually found out about this author in this book. Actually a part of a few different book clubs on the Meetup app. So the way that they handle their book club is that they actually talk about the book. Like they don't reveal what book they're talking about each week, but when they join the chat, they'll start talking about the book. And unfortunately, like people who haven't read the book yet, there is some spoilers. So one of the books that they were talking about, It's About Damn Time by Arlan. I hope that I'm saying her name right. Arlan Hamilton. Very new to this founder. She is really big in the startup space. I really enjoyed reading this book because when I first, when they said Arlan Hamilton and I read the little description about this book, I was like, wow, I gotta read this book. Because again, the title is It's About Damn Time, How to Turn Being Underestimated into Your Greatest Advantage. And honestly, I kind of related to that title a little bit. This cover kind of stood out to me and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to check that out. And if you read more about Arlan's biography, she's actually really impressive and really interesting. So let's go ahead and get into my breakdown and review of It's About Damn Time by Arlan. It's About Damn Time, How to Turn Being Underestimated into Your Greatest Advantage was published in May 2020 and currently sits at a 4.2 star rating on Goodreads. From a Black gay woman who broke into the boys club of Silicon Valley comes an empowering guide to finding your voice, working your way into any room you want to be in, and achieving your own dreams. In 2015, Arlan Hamilton was on food stamps and sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport with nothing but an old laptop and a dream of breaking into the venture capital business. She couldn't understand why people starting companies all look the same, presumably white males, and saw the chance to invest in the ideas and people who didn't conform to the image of how a founder is supposed to look. She had no contacts or networks in Silicon Valley, no background in finance, or even a college degree. What she did have was a fierce determination and the will to succeed. Just reading that description on Goodreads alone is another reason why I was really attracted to this book. For the underestimated, a Black BIPOC founder, which has found a lot of success, is bringing you kind of their background on how did they make it. It's kind of like a biography, how-to kind of book. And it also won the Saltire Society Literary Award for Scottish Book Cover of the Year 2021. You will learn more about the background of Arlan Hamilton. Did not grow up in a privileged background. Part of the book, she talks about how her and her mom had upgraded to like a nicer community at one point in her childhood, but it was really short-lived and she wasn't able to finish college. I don't think she even attended college, but a lot of her success came from self-education, came from reading books, YouTube videos, podcasts. So she was more of a self-initiator when it came to gaining her expertise in specifically this very niche sector of business, which is capital funding. Yeah, this story kind of just walks through her experience from ground zero all the way to where she is today, owning her own company, Backstage Capital. Backstage revenue is now estimated at up to $30 million as of 2015. So she has a lot of weight going on in her business. And this book is mostly from her perspective. There was no other insights, no co-authors. There is a Rachel L. Nielsen that I believe helped her in the book, but it's mostly from firsthand perspective of her coming from literally the trenches, sleeping in the San Francisco airport, being homeless, learning how to maneuver through boot camps and different courses, and pitching her ideas to different founders and investors who really didn't give her the time of the day. But one thing she always hones into is her tenacity, that she never gave up. And eventually she started getting phone calls, she started getting the invites, and now she's built this successful multi-million-dollar business that invests back into the community and those who are often overlooked. Quite commonly, she is of the LGBTQ community, so she does a lot of work with the LGBTQ, Black women, women of color, and just other underrepresented people in general within the business realm. So, of course, a major qualification of this book is it is a motivation book. I think this is also considered a self-improvement type of book, even though it's not explicitly listed as one, but it's definitely, I would put this under the breach of self-improvement, because her book it has a lot of encouragement in it. Like, I have so many notes that I took of her just encouraging people. And what I really like about the layout is she kind of has sections where she will highlight those encouraging affirmations that she shares. So this book was definitely meant to be a tool to encourage and empower other people that both look like her, probably similar background as her, and also people who could be, you know, in those roles of holding power, to see how can I help out another BIPOC. And I think she's also gotten investments from, what is his name? Cuban from Shark Tank. So her work has really gone a long way. But one of the quotes that she has here says, when the majority of the world looks at you as other, it becomes imperative to connect with people who have the ability to see you as you. A lot of her messages and her themes in here is about staying true to yourself, never giving up, and continue to work towards your goal, no matter what that is, as simple as that is. That's pretty much the whole theme of her book. I do believe that Arlan really succeeded in this being an encouraging self-improvement book without really forcing it, because literally I have so many tabs. This is probably the most quotable book I've read in the last several years. I mean, I have even more quotes. It says, believe alone will not achieve your goals, but achieving your goals without self-belief will almost be impossible. There are threads that connect us all, and only by being insatiably curious about others can we discover them. You can't control what other people think of you. You can only be authentic each and every time. I will not shrink myself to make someone else more comfortable. I deserve to be in the room. So literally, this has been one of the most quotable books I have read in the past several years. And I really appreciated that. It was really authentic and really showing you how she started from the ground up, because she's explained throughout her book a couple times, you know, she would go to meet with an investor and they would pull the card at the last minute. But she really honed into the fact that even if that card is pulled, to still be encouraged and ready and always have that backup plan to know what your next move is going to be, especially in the world of capital funding and startups and boot camps and tech funding and investment capital and all this stuff. It's a very big beast. And I like how she really broke that down here in her book and her ascent to where she is now, and running a company and having employees. And another thing that I really love that Arlan shared in her testimonial is she talks about she went from being homeless to a multimillionaire who is now being invited to speak in different spaces, her as a breath of fresh air, which is mostly due to her new ideas and how she's serving her community, but also her identity as a Black woman, a woman of color, LGBTQ. All of those kind of come together to become an asset when she's going into these different spaces. Also, at one point, she shares a story where she spoke up for herself when one of these well-known investors was going to take like one of her Cokes at an event, but she stood up for herself and said, you know, I recommend you get your own Coke. Respected her, and it turned into, I think, a really awesome business connection just because she spoke up for herself. But she even talked about how she wrestled through that self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, to get to where she is today. And now she's doing very viable and good work, public facing work that people see and that she contributes to, and that is making a difference in people's lives, because she's funded hundreds of businesses by this point, and she still is a key mentor within this very, very niched area of business. Her identity as a Black woman, you know, she's had, you know, those experiences where she has been ignored and degraded and seen as like, you know, who are you? Who do you think you are, inserting yourself into this space? But again, she goes on to encourage the reader, don't put your value on what other people want to put on you. Your value is inherently, intrinsically yourself. And I love that she's such an advocate of self-knowledge, because I'm like a course queen. Like, I don't care what course, it could be Coursera, you know, those little certifications you could get online. Like, I'm addicted to those little platforms because I've seen those little platforms work. Don't sleep on those little self-certified courses you could find online on Coursera. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get the knowledge you need for whatever you need. And I'm like one of those people. You're one of those people that like just do all those courses online. Like, I'm always in an online course. I actually have another one that I need to finish. But don't sleep on those, because I've upskilled so much from those courses, and I've learned so much from those little online courses that I actually use in my day-to-day, and I see my performance improving at work and what I'm doing. And that's another thing that she also advocates for. Like, before you really get into a business, make sure you master, you know, your work ethic and what you're producing at work, so that when you are ready to take that leap of faith to start your own business or start your own company, you will already have those skills handy, because you already know work ethic, time management, self-service, self-education. And yeah, I just really love that she's gotten this far by self-teaching herself. No fancy PhD, no Harvard accelerator courses, no Stanford credentials. This is all literally self-made through YouTube and books and podcasts and reaching out and cold calling. I love that, you know, this really came from 100% her own path. You know, it was nobody guiding her or leading her. She had to find it on her own. And I really do appreciate that about Arlan, and how she also really makes it clear in this book that she did have to overcome a lot of struggles and a lot of hurdles as a woman of color and as a Black woman. But towards the end of the book, she really says, I shouldn't be the only Black woman in this space. She was the first Black woman to be featured on Fast Company, the cover of Fast Company, which is an entrepreneurial journal and magazine. And then she was also the first Black woman of another magazine she listed in here. She's just one piece of a bigger puzzle of more Black women coming out, founding companies, getting into the investment space, getting into the crowdfunding phase, getting into donor funding. And she even gives a little guide at the end of how you could start very, very small with your own micro loans to start helping other people. She added this frequently asked questions towards the end, because it just shows you that it is possible for you if you build those building blocks. And if you want to be in this space, if you want to own your own company, if you want to be an investor, it is possible for somebody, the ordinary person, as long as you're willing to put in the work. And she kind of breaks that down step by step. So I really do appreciate that she put that in here as well. But you could clearly see in this book that it's not just about her. She's really trying to reach out and show to other people that it could be possible. Again, I'm sure this book isn't only targeted towards Black women. It's for anybody who's been underrepresented or looked over or passed up. But, you know, she's really showing like, hey, like, even though we are still pretty modern, there's so many women investors and women in business, she wants to see more of it. She wants to see more. And I really do appreciate that. And a few of these other women who are making, you know, strides within the investment capital space are Jewel Burks, Solomon, Stephanie Lampkin, Jessica O. Matthews, Sheena Allen, and Morgan DeBon. I can't lie, I didn't even know who these women were. Like, this just introduced me to a whole lot of other working in different spaces within capital investments that really, really inspired me and really touched me. Her book is very easily written. Honestly, it took me, I'm not gonna lie, it did take me about a month or so to finish this book. That's because I really wasn't committed to it. I would just kind of read it a couple pages on the weekends or after work, and I read it on the airplane, and that's when I finished it, because it's about a 2-hour plane ride, and I finished it halfway through. So I'm not gonna lie, it did take me a while to get through this book just because I wasn't really super immersed and committed to it. But honestly, you could get through this book. It's such a simple read. It's very well written. It's very clear cut chapters. The chapters are very short. This chapter is only 2 pages. Very simple read. I'm sure you could finish this book over a weekend or a couple days. You'll be done. So I really like how clear and fluid the book is. It's like she's talking to a friend, or somebody that she just met at a networking event you about her life. So I do like how it is very personable. It feels very like she feels like a friend, or like somebody you would cold call on LinkedIn, and you have that clarity call with somebody you probably don't know really well, but their work inspires you and they're giving you an insight into what they did to get to where they are. So that's what I really pick up in the tone and the theme of this book. Very easy to read, very fluid, short chapters, and she gives you an honest insight into what she had to go through to get to where she is today. She also mentioned her struggles with alcoholism. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. And how, I guess, immersing herself in the work in the business also helped her to really overcome that major stronghold in her life. And she defeated it through going down a different direction. Be an influencer in the space that she overcome alcoholism. She's overcome homelessness. She's overcome, the degradation that comes with being an underrepresented person within this very specific space. And she's done it and she's accomplished it. So again, I do really appreciate her story that she shared and that she was willing to bear a lot of it on the page. She will break down these specific phrases that any normal random person wouldn't know. She'll break it down for you, such as bootstrapping, angel investors, crowdfunding, and equity. Like, you don't have to Google what she's talking about because she breaks it down within her pages. So I really do appreciate that as well, that she also took the extra time to kind of say, okay, the average person reading this book might not really know what is bootstrapping. Let me just add an extra sentence or an extra caveat so that they could see the bigger picture. So I feel like that was a strength, that she was very detailed without being too long-winded about it. Has since published a second book, Your First Million: Why You Don't Have to Be Born into a Legacy of Wealth to Leave One Behind. This is also standing at a very high ranking on Goodreads at 4.13 stars. So I'm definitely gonna try that book out next. I definitely want to read her next book. She's a trusted mentor when it comes to coming from nothing to something. So I think that her voice is very reputable, verifiable, because you see the work that she does and the good work that she does. And I haven't read any other books like this. Like, I'm not looking to be a capital investor. The reason why I picked up this book is because, yes, I do have an interest in business, but I was really more so connected to the actual title of the book, of being misunderstood, of being the black sheep, of being. With that being said, I gave this book actually, I think it was a 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars rating. Like, I think the book was worth it. It was worth the read. It was something fresh. I read a lot of personal self-help books, but I like how quick this one was. And, it's not just about me and, doing this XYZ to get this result. She just kind of did more of a bigger picture of how her business was an outlet to overcome some of the hurdles, how some of the hurdles impacted her, starting her own company. So it was very encouraging to see that and read that. One thing I would have liked, though, for it to have been more of like a business side, a, first time CEO, founder of a company, holder in a major company. I would have liked her to have maybe like had a chapter on how to start your business, because she does mention some things in the FAQ, like how to get funding, how to source funding, what are investors looking for. So she is giving you some guidance, but honestly, I would have liked like one chapter specifically dedicated towards like a playbook, 1 by 1, step 1, step 2, step 3. Here are the pros and cons of starting your business or your venture or your capital fund this way and doing it this way, which I know she kind of does touch on that in the book. But honestly, I would have liked to have seen one chapter seriously just breaking down step by step how to start your business, how you could find money. But like, let me see a step by step of it. I think that would have been really resourceful, included in her resource guide at the end of the book. I think that this book is very relevant this day and age. Like she mentioned, there's about 8 or 9 Black women that are really into the investment capital space right now, but there could be more. Why does it just have to be limited to 8, 9, 10 faces within a particular space? It could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 500 people, doing similar work. So I think that this book is definitely necessary because there's so many people that have good business ideas, have good ideas for nonprofits and investments that just don't have the acumen or the skills or the connections or the people or the opportunities in their life to really create literally life-changing businesses and corporations and venture capitals that would literally change the world, because they don't have the connections, they don't have the money to do it, but they have the ideas, they have the acumen, they have the tenacity. And I think this book, if it gets into the right hands, which I'm sure it already has, but this book is like an elixir of that if this gets in the hands of the right people, they could see that, hey, you might not necessarily need all this money to start off with. What you really need is the grit, the tenacity, your vision, your plan. And I'm going into the self-study, hours into YouTube, hours into sitting down and writing her own notes. YouTube is free. I feel like more people that will touch this book will feel empowered to say, okay, how do I get a grant to start my business? How do I reach out to an investor? How do I find a co-founder? Because she did mention that. Even how do you find a co-founder? I think that this book will empower people to just put themselves out there and say, I'm going to go to the networking events and get all the information that I can and just read all the books, listen to all the media and the literature that's out there to start my nonprofit, to start my VC, to start my business, to start my small women's fund or my small men's fund or my small BIPOC fund, whatever they're trying to do. I really think this book is such a necessary, because it will encourage people. It doesn't look like, the clean cut Silicon Valley person, the ordinary person that is doing really, really good work behind the scenes and funding the businesses that need the most help, helping to found the businesses and nonprofits that need the most help. And this book, I feel like, will be a guide in a lot of people's toolkits to say, hey, I can do it too. Quite simply, I could do it too, but maybe they just need a little bit of motivation and a little bit of guidance. Funding people that need money to bring life-changing technologies, businesses, philanthropy funds to the forefront. But we need people who are interested in holding that money and rightly distributing that money. We need people like that who are actually here, and not up all the way up here in the clouds where the average person is going to be intimidated to approach somebody for funding or to get the investments that they need for their business. The timing is right. The timing is right. I feel like a lot of people would enjoy this book. I don't think this book is just for specifically women of color that want to start businesses. It could be for anybody that feels underrepresented or feel like they're looked over. And I feel like a lot of the wisdom in here you could apply. You don't have to be a venture capitalist. Maybe you're just a regular Joe Schmo that goes to work every day, 9 to 5. This could probably encourage you and empower you. Promotion. This will probably encourage you. It might not be directly explicitly in your field, but it will also encourage you to say, hey, I could do it. I'm worthy. So really, really good book for that. And being strategic about the things that you want to accomplish as well. I think this book is also really good for the people on the other side of the lens. So the people who do have the power. Yes, the quote unquote men and women in Silicon Valley, the clean cut, whatever that image is. This book is also, I feel like, really good for them as well, because then they see with the other side and they know what to expect when they're engaging with their different partners and their different benefactors that they're granting money and they're granting grants to, they're granting loans to. I think it's critical for them to also, people who are in a space of power, to also read this book as well, because then they get to see the other side of the perspective. And then, of course, people who want to start their own businesses and want to be VCs. This is a well-rounded read for everybody. Honestly, I think it is. High schoolers, college students, just broke down some of the common definitions of things. Somebody who knows nothing about venture capital, she breaks it down to you. So it's very accessible. The book is very accessible. It's Arlan Hamilton. It's About Damn Time, How to Turn Being Underestimated into Your Greatest Advantage. They have this in an audiobook. They probably do. I would love to hear it in an audiobook. But again, I looked her up on social media. I looked her up on Instagram, and she's still doing very good work. And I know she's received some awards for it. Really, really inspired by Arlan Hamilton to be yourself and do a good job while being yourself and doing what you really feel called to do. Because for someone who had no background, no privilege, it wasn't nepotism. This was just an ordinary woman who put her mind to something, who had a deep interest in learning something different, stepping out of her comfort zone. And these are the fruits of not giving up of being tenacious, of believing in yourself, of not allowing the negativity and she says the degradation and getting warped into your head, but keep on the mission. This is what you can accomplish. You want to accomplish, if you want to step out of your comfort zone, if you want to get in VC, but you have nowhere where to start, this is the book for you. And so again, I gave it a 3.5 out of 4, which I think is a pretty high rating. I'd like her to have even, you know how some people in their bios, they have like pictures of themselves of like, okay, this was step 1, this was me in my childhood, this was me when I met this important person. I would have liked to even have had like maybe a little section with like different pictures to go along with her bio. Great read, great book. And I'm definitely looking forward to her second one. So, and I'm sure she's probably going to publish maybe a 3rd or a 4th book, who knows? Well, that's it for the book review for Arlan Hamilton's It's About Damn Time. Have you read this book? Has Arlan's testimony really inspired or impacted you in your career? Have you started up your own business because of her book? I would love to hear in the comments. I definitely do want to get that second book and see what's going on with that one and really learning more about her financial strategies as well.